Hey guys! So in Scarlet and Violet, we were all introduced to a new mechanic, the Terastal phenomenon. This can be used in battle to change your Pokemon's type, and every Pokemon has its own tera-type that can be completely different from its original typing. You can also find Pokemon with unique tera-types in Tera Raid battles. When a Pokemon terastallizes, you can tell what the new typing is based on the sparkly hat it's wearing. But what if instead of this, Pokemon change to reflect their new typing? I'll be opening up the map in Pokemon Scarlet, closing my eyes, and picking a Tera Raid den at random. Whatever Pokemon we find there will have its look transformed to match its tera-type. Let's jump in. We left Mesagoza and ended up traveling west to our first random Tera Raid den, which ended up being for a Psychic Tera-type Hippowdon. When I first started researching for this design, I stumbled across these cool new brain scanners that look like a helmet. All of the holes in this scanner remind me of the ports that Hippowdon has on its back. Initially, I thought I would make the Pokemon's head big and have this helmet-like appearance to it, but decided to scrap that concept in the end after I explored a second idea I had. This second idea had Hippowdon looking like it was sleeping on a big fluffy cloud. Normally, Hippowdon is known for storing sand that it swallowed and spewing it out when it gets worked up into a rage. This Hippowdon instead creates these clouds using its own psychic powers as it dreams. There's a part of the brain that has the word hippo right in its name, the hippocampus. It's involved in learning and memory. The memories of Hippowdon bending sand to its will is what helps it create these psychic clouds while it's sleeping. I like that this design transformed an existing concept that played with Hippowdon's typing, and also helped to show a personality change in the Pokemon. The hippocampus idea is also why this psychic Hippowdon now only has a single look to it, rather than a darker and lighter version based on whether it's male or female. The hippocampus is divided into the left and right parts of the brain, but it's connected by a bundle of nerves in the middle of the brain. That's why this Hippowdon has darker and lighter colors split right down the middle. Meet our psychic-type Hippowdon. When Hippowdon terastallizes into this form, it calms down and appears to fall into a slumber. It now relies more on its increased mental capacity than its brute strength. Its attack stat and special attack stat are swapped too. The clouds that it floats around on can spread around its opponent and put them to sleep, giving the Psychic Hippowdon an advantage over them in battle. After encountering our Psychic Hippowdon friend, we then raced over to the opposite side of the map. When we got there, we encountered a Steel Tera-type Sawsbuck. I found out that there are a few myths and tales from multiple regions about golden stags. One of the stories I found was a Romanian fairy tale about a brother and sister. They go into the woods, and the brother is transformed into a golden stag. He would carry his sister and his antlers to a tree to rest and grow up in. They would stay like this until she fell in love with the prince. At one point, she gets kidnapped, and her dear brother helps to save her. This story in particular gave me a direction to take our Steel-type Sawsbuck in. I know golden stags aren't literal golden stags, but I thought this would be a fun direction to take our Steel-type Sawsbuck. This Sawsbuck would be noble and courageous. I wanted to interpret the steel typing into armor, to show that this Sawsbuck is dedicated to protecting others. A large metal shield would replace the fluff that it normally has on its chest, and it would gain some armor around its legs. I also made the antlers much larger and wider than the original Noivern Sawsbuck, and based them on the extinct Irish elk. These antlers would be used to pick up and carry defenseless Pokemon that are in danger, so they could be carried away to safety. When this isn't possible, Steel-type Sawsbuck would use its strong metal horns to block attacks. It will always put itself between small and weak Pokemon and their attackers. This is our new Steel-type Sawsbuck. When Sawsbuck terastallizes into this type, its defense stat is greatly increased. Sawsbuck typically has 4 forms based on the seasons. When it terastallizes, these seasonal changes are replaced with different metal variants: bronze, silver, and gold. Sawsbuck would start off with the bronze armor and antlers, but as it continues to win fights, the color of the metal would change into silver and eventually gold. This would motivate players to use Sawsbuck on their team so that they can get this shiny golden variant. It would also reward them for all of the care and effort they put into raising this Pokemon. We continued onward, trekking around the great crater of Paldea to find ourselves a grass tera-type Noivern. For this grass Noivern, I wanted the inspiration for it to be based on a fruit that could emphasize its typing, as well as hint to its original dragon typing. the dragon fruit. I thought it would be fun to use elements from the inside and outside of the dragon fruit in this design. Noivern's ear points were changed to these leafy green spirals to match the end of the fruit. The end of the tail was also inspired by this, and eventually I changed the fluff around the neck to match. The spiky shapes on the back of its wings were rounded out to hint at the seeds inside the dragon fruit, and I added some more seed-shaped markings on the ends of the wings as well. Of course, I had to make this Noivern a pinkish color with green and white details to make it look even more like a dragon fruit. This color palette alone gives our grass-type Noivern a more cheery appearance compared to the dark-looking flying dragon Noivern. And here is our grass-type Noivern. The general disposition of Noivern has changed from violent and cruel to friendly and approachable. Rather than go all out on its opponents, this Noivern is more likely to observe its opponent and land calculated blows. It would rather conserve its energy than expend it all on a fight that it's not that interested in. I gave our grass Noivern a big goofy nose based on the Jamaican fruit bat to help make it look even more approachable. I also imagined that the fur around its neck would extend all the way down its back and into the tail, helping it look a bit more cuddly than the Noivern version. This Pokemon may not look as intimidating as the original, but it's still plenty strong, and it will demonstrate that when it feels absolutely necessary. Our journey was coming to an end. What would we find next? None other than a fairy tera-type Espathra. So Espathra's design has this long flowing tail skirt, and its dex entry says that it immobilizes opponents with the psychic power from its large eyes. I was trying to figure out how I could incorporate these two things with the fairy typing. And then it hit me. J-pop idols. Girl idol groups in Japan are very popular, and can have plenty of devoted fans who will go to their shows and buy merch. I changed the eyes so that the pupil and iris were shaped like hearts. Its eyes may no longer have any psychic powers, but it can still use its new heart eyes and cutesy acts to get what it wants. The feathers around the neck were changed to look like the collar of a Japanese schoolgirl uniform, which has been a popular costume for idol performances since the 80s. This inspiration allowed me to change how the rings around Espathra's neck and legs were placed. I thought the look could be tied together more if its legs looked more like socks, and I changed the rings around the neck to match that. I also changed the skirt tail from being long and flowing to white and poofy to match other popular performance costumes. This fairy type Espathra uses a pastel color scheme to drive home its typing and reflect the kawaii look. Last but not least is our fairy tera-type Espathra form. This version of Espathra can be just as quick and cunning as its psychic counterpart, but is able to hypnotize opposing Pokemon with its cuteness rather than psychic ability. It will lower opposing Pokemon's defenses before attacking or attempting to get whatever it wants, then sprint away. Trainers are often more cautious to fight fairy-type Espathra in Terra Raid battle dens, as they can use their newfound powers to hypnotize the entire group of Pokemon that were brought in to fight it. What do you think of these new terrestrial forms for the Pokemon in this video? Are there any Pokemon you hope get a cool special form in the DLC? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye!